Your home has a beautiful covered patio. You've got this great outdoor kitchen. You have this dining area. You have a chase lounge. You've got the flat screen TV on the wall, and you use it one day a week. Why? Well, in the spring of the year, it's because of the pollen. In the summer, it's because the sun's too bright. At certain times of day, it's because of the nosy neighbor, or maybe the mosquitoes are too bad. Well, there's a company out there that can solve those problems for you, and that's Shade Doctor LLC, the only source for the exclusive X-ray product in all of the United States. Whether you're in the Southeast, whether you're in the Midwest, whether you're along the panhandle of Florida, it doesn't matter. Shade Doctor can take care of your patio. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining the latest episode of Improveit. I've got a very special guest to me, a good friend of mine, a gentleman named John Bailey, that some of you may be familiar with, that we want to have a very engaging conversation with today about really multiple things in the home improvement industry, but particularly about the nature of business in Florida and about the nature of not necessarily rebuilding, not necessarily revamping, but modifying company culture so it matches future goals of any particular business. So, John, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, well, very good, man. It's good to see you. I don't think we get to engage and interact quite enough. Hopefully, we'll remedy that moving forward. But I'd love to kind of hear a little bit about about your career, what you've done over the past 30 years or so, and tell us a little bit about the opportunity you're in now.
So yeah, I mean, the home improvement industry is the career. Got out of the service. Installation was the key category, and immediately was like, yeah, I need to find something a little easier. So
Okay.
uh, went into sales, which found out it wasn't easier. It had its own difficulty. One was mental, and one was physical. So it was the balance of both worlds. And then from there into management. So and then back to sales management, and then really more into the science behind what goes on in life now. More of the neuroscience, the economic standards is where I probably made one of the biggest inputs and impacts, just rebranding sales outfits under current times, like 2026 versus 20 versus 1990, so on and so on. Um, Moved from a non-impact cold market in Cleveland, Ohio, into Georgia, Georgia to here, Texas a little bit with you at one point in time, all the way to New Orleans, back to the East Coast, now back to the South, and I'm here to stay.
Okay,
So,
excellent, excellent. That's a it's broad, it's diverse. I mean, when you look at some of the challenges in the industry up north versus the unique melting pot of what Texas is and Georgia and Florida and all around. So that body of experience, like any experience that we have, obviously it prepares you for the future, right? So tell us a little bit about Prestige and what you're doing there today.
so Prestige is my last stop, um, and I'm done after that, and we'll enjoy the retirement on a beach somewhere. But Prestige itself, I was asked to come in here and preserve. Meaning this is a family-owned, run, operating business since day one, 31 years ago. Robert and Christina Cascuvo started this business as an installer. They weren't selling windows in their business. They were actually servicing everyone else's product issues from bad installations. Realized I might as well start some installation people running installation companies around the state, and then eventually realized, hey, I might as well start to sell the windows and the installation and the servicing. So I have the two most important parts already handled. So the unique thing about them is it's never changed name ownerships. There's no banks in here. It's a cash operating facility, no private equity firms, and they have partnerships from day one with, I mean, PGT probably being the biggest partnership they've never ever walked away from.
Okay.
So when you can keep that type of loyalty with inside, there's a lot of reasons. One, it's you're doing something right to keep that relationship with the manufacturer going that long. Two, you're doing something right where you don't need to alter your product lines, whether it's the financial or the installation end, because what you're putting out across one of the most difficult states to live in, um, can withstand. And that's really where they're at right now. The bigger challenge they had though was as they're getting older, as we all do, they don't want to lose what they built. I mean, this is
Right.
100% family operated. And the culture from the time you walk into the door to an hour and a half later as we get back to our office is something that's probably not seen anymore. Where there's a conversation with every employee as you get from step to step to step down. They don't want to lose that. They don't
Yeah.
want to lose the
Well, look, I,
employees that have helped them build this organization. And the bigger one, they don't want to lose the word compassion. They want to make sure compassion stays with inside this organization. And when you look at
That's
there, that
fantastic.
hmm?
So that's fantastic because
Yep.
as you know, the interest of private equity. You mentioned private equity earlier on in the home improvement sector is huge. I mean, it's one of the fastest growing segments of acquisition within all stages of private equity. Small equity companies, large equity companies, they see the opportunity in the home improvement industry. And a lot of people are super excited about that, but it's interesting to hear about an ownership group that has a different viewpoint. So to maybe talk a little more specifically about that. What's
I
that?
mean,
What's that like to to come to work for an owner that it's just not really interested in chasing those big private equity dollars?
what's your greatest resource in business? What's the largest challenge your organization faces? Well, I can tell you from experience, it's people. The home improvement industry is challenging. Sometimes it's hard to find the right people. It's very difficult to find people as skilled as you need them. You need a partner that can help, and that's Bricks Recruiting. Whether you need senior level management, whether you need sales reps, whether you're in building, whether you're in roofing, any element in the home improvement industry. If you need staffing, if you need leadership, you need Bricks.
and so I mean the challenges are is you're competing with, as soon as private equity gets in, it becomes a big conglomerate. So your purchasing powers can dissipate, just even the way you're hiring and so on and saying competitive in industry. There's your challenge right there. Here, they did one thing right on day one, and it's keep the financials in line. But, from us, the challenges are how to avoid that for the future. And so the goal where I come into play it is one, make sure this culture is here, that 5-star experience for every employee. Our key attributes is making sure every employee feels valued, the big one heard, and then finally understood. And we don't want to lose that key core. But the way we're going to go about making sure we don't lose control of the company is to turn it into employee owned. So that's the challenges we're going through this year is how do you go into turning a company where it's at now and to going through the ESOP measures of life and getting everything compliant and then getting the employees ready to be able to handle ownership. Because turning employee owned is only as good as the employee that understands the pressures as owning a facility.
Okay.
So we're slowly working with every employee in every department on a daily basis, making sure they can handle the pressures, making sure they have the want, need, and desire that Robert had when he was 22 years old, and making sure through time, whether it's an employee or family member, it's maintained.
Okay. All right. Well, I know we've spoken, kind of offline, about some of the challenges and the goals there, and you know, I always I always feel, somewhat remiss when we're talking about culture because there's this big idea, oh, rebuilding culture, and it's kind of implied in that the culture was terrible and awful to start with. Now, sometimes that's the case. I mean,
Yep.
you and I both know there are organizations out there that you walk into the building and it's not a great mood, right? So I
Yep.
understand that culture needs to be transformed, but it would seem to be somewhat of a unique challenge to come into an organization where, hey, there's a good culture already. Okay. So it's not that you're rebuilding, you don't have to blow anything up, but you do need to make subtle shifts so that the culture it meets the more or maybe the modified end goal. What are the unique challenges with doing that?
There's a lot. family owned is unique to begin with. When you even hear that nowadays, it's almost extinct like the dinosaurs. The challenges though, are more, how do we keep the ethical standards and moral standards here while turning it into the giant that it already is and then growing it to another level? So, from us, the more challenges, instead of dealing with micromanagement, and discipline, teach them how to be self-disciplined. Instead of teaching them what understanding is, to teach them what the word self-understanding means. When it comes into like even that micromanagement we said a second ago, it's teaching them how to micromanage their duties and actions to where we can get the things accomplished we need to do, which is higher revenue, higher profit margins, that kind of stuff, without losing the focus. And that's where the challenge is at. So the more we need to advance into the future, the more we need to be compassionate, which means listen.
Okay.
Listen to what our employees have to say and hear them out. And hear them out with true compassion, meaning I do care, with sincerity, genuineness. Doesn't mean that we're going to have to agree with what they have to say, but the more they feel heard and understood, the challenges we have go away. It's not uneasy. It's not, the pressure's not there. The stress is not there from the employees because they always feel like they're the center of attention.
Okay.
And
Sure.
it's the key. And think about a family itself. We're compassionate. We listen. We can still discipline. We can still have positive results from the time of birth to the time we put our children in real life. Well, we kind of have to do that here now. We have to treat it just like we would raise our own child and make sure they have the moral grounds to withstand the pressures when it's easier to go the cheap road. We can make easy decisions today to get over things and make it look like it's going to be better. But to be able to hold that moral standard in this company and be ethical while doing it, yeah, it's not the easiest thing. There's a lot of personalities, a lot of diversity inside of here that we need to be able to understand each and every single person as an individual and then create it as a whole.
Do you need to take your outdoor living to the next level? Do you want a different, unique structure that not everyone has? You need to check out a louvered roof pergola, custom built by Innovative Outdoor in Fort Worth, Texas. So regardless of whether you have an existing covered patio attached to your home, maybe you've got that structure by your pool, maybe you've got that structure in a great outdoor living area that you need more coverage and protection from the sun above. Check out a louvered roof pergola from Innovative Outdoor. Call my friend Andy and he will take care of you.
So obviously, it's not a small company. You haven't worked for small companies, and I'm sure it's refreshing to come into an environment, but also be somewhat responsible for the continuation of that environment where doing the right thing is ultimately the end goal and what matters, right? Because
Yeah.
as you know, and I know that's not necessarily the goal with a lot of these companies in our space. And it's unfortunate, but it's the truth.
Yeah. I mean, Robert and Christine are unique. I mean, there's no company in the state that's been here for 30 years since day one under the same name, same ownership, same license, never borrowed a dollar to get where they're at. That part is unique, but Robert will never budge in his time. And he was very clear to me, John, you're an aggressive individual, but at the same time, remember one thing, I'd rather not grow today and stay stagnant than do something that's going to ruin the family culture that I built. So it's kind of where, like you said, the challenges are at. Yeah, we can go down and bring in a private equity group and get all the money we need here today to grow 10 times more offices, but he'd rather stay with 2 offices and grow them over a small period of time and eventually get to that end game. But it's a rare thing in business. Most people care more about, well, just sell it, taking cash out, just do this, lower the pay scales, lower this, hey, get rid of this person that's here to help them, get rid of this person here to help them. You'll save money, your EBITDA will be higher, whatever it is, your P&Ls will be adjusted. He'd rather keep all of those tools and everything aligned before he gives in just to make a dollar bill. And I think that's where it's rare at. He'd look at, I think John Maxwell said it best, back in the days when ethics aren't teachable.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
people can
what
mirror
seems like,
ethics if you keep it inside your building. They'll eventually mirror those standards and become those standards. You can't teach it,
sure.
but you can become it.
Yeah,
So,
some of those, some of those principles driving companies today, yeah, you may have a flash in the pan and you may see some immediate growth, like we see all the time. Companies that are going into a private equity cycle or a flip cycle in that world, they're slashing expenses and they're dumping people that have been there 10 or 15 years. We've got, we have people coming to us all the time that have been a casualty of that environment. And we've seen it in our previous stops, and it's pretty unfortunate. But looking at that from another perspective, when you treat people like you're talking about, you have a building full of highly motivated people that are excited to come to work every day, that are excited to serve their customers. Because what happens is sometimes we get it backwards, right? We think, oh, when we take that customer centric mentality and it's customer, 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 right? Well, the real way that you take care of your customers is you take care of your people, because people that are nurtured and taken care of, they want to take care of the customers, right?
yep. What's It's a unique thing. I mean, our core value, it's branded. I mean, we're not just a company of choice for homeowners, it's the company of choice to work for, because our number one goal is to create that 5-star experience for every single employee every single day, so they do feel valued, heard, and understood. In return, we ask them to take that same type of experience into our homes and provide that 5-star experience in every home every time, whether they buy or not, from the sales end. When they do buy, create that same 5-star experience. By doing this, there is no job titles here. Now, do we have job titles? Yes, we need it just to be systematic. The point where I'm going with this, though, is when we hear there's a problem, hey, we all have the same job. Create that 5-star experience for our homeowners. And when you can do that, we can keep on supplying you that 5-star experience in return. When you can do it with the understanding, there's no such thing as perfection other than a dictionary. So why are we judging people when they weren't perfect today? Let's own what we have. Let's define what integrity really means and honesty really means, and just own the things that aren't working right, so we can work together as a team. So instead of pulling people in rooms, writing you up or removing them, you weren't perfect today and yesterday, so guess what? You're gone. Let's hire some more people. We don't want to do that, and it's as
Very
long as
short.
people can follow our rules with and it's one rule in this company: just don't lie.
Yeah.
It's one simple rule to keep the jobs. We're not asking for perfection. I'm not asking for, the Tom Brady's of the world from every employee. What I'm asking for is to come here, want to be here, and then take care of our homeowners. And then when they can do that, we're going to provide those experiences for them in return naturally.
Well, that's fantastic, John. I'm happy to hear that, and it sounds like that you have a fantastic opportunity to build on a tremendous foundation. So, with that said, Florida's unique, all across the board. I mean, we know that. I mean, when you've got the beaches, you got the marshes, you got the swamps, you got different parts of Florida that don't seem like Florida, just that whole niche or stereotype that comes along with Florida, just in general. But South Florida, and particularly the coastal environments, which is most of Florida, right? But what is unique in a business like the window and door business in Florida, maybe compared to Ohio or Georgia or any other state for that matter?
Do you need to scale your business? Do you need to get your products and services in front of the right customers? Maybe you need to build a new website. Maybe you need a very creative Google ad strategy or SEO built in behind your website. Well, if you need to take your business to the next level, you need to call my friend Billy with Grow Marketing in San Antonio, Texas.
I mean, the uniqueness is this is the real Wild West here. Rules are rewritten every day in this state, seems like, because there's not a lot of integrity to the system. The uniqueness here, though, is that, we're not supplying something that needs to be more comfortable or just more efficient. I mean, you're taking people's lives and you're putting it at risk. I mean, people can come in there and offer a cheaper product line based on below minimum standards, but as soon as that next big storm comes in, it could be catastrophic. And that's where I think the challenges are at, because we have a lot of companies out here are willing to just put in the cheapest thing to earn that business versus help educate the consumer on, is it really worth it? If you're trying to protect not just your home, but your family inside the home, let's look at what it takes. So the compliances that are set through the state, should they be a little higher? Probably. But at the same time, I think it takes the individual ownerships within these organizations to really make sure they have that ethical and moral ground to make sure what we're giving to a consumer is going to protect them the way they're expecting. There's a lot of falsifications of what goes on. It makes it unique because, I mean, people die here when we don't do the homes right. When that storm comes in and they think they're protected and covered, they don't have the metal, the wood outside those windows, or even the roofs, where roofs are here to defend. A wall in a window in a wall is there to stop in the intrusion, whether it's wind and water. You know, there's so many different grades and levels of what could be offered. And the hard part about it is there's so many different ways Mother Nature can deliver a storm here. It's pretty
Sure.
unique when you go into like Texas, for example, going to New Orleans, example, then go up to Cleveland, Ohio, or the East Coast, where they have the same Atlantic going all the way across. The part that's unique here is that every single day, Mother Nature's at its highest, whether it's heat, salt, moisture, humidity, the rains that come in twice a day here. And then the big one, the catastrophic storms. We have to do the right thing as business owners to protect homeowners in the way that they expected when they made that purchase. It's not the easiest thing to do this day because competitiveness is causing that type of situation to necessarily not go away, but be less offered on a daily basis to a consumer. They don't realize what they're purchasing because they're not being educated correctly.
Yeah, that's right. So, kind of for the listener, the audience out there, it's not like being in the window industry in Ohio, Tennessee, where you can just go and a supplier, whatever your distribution channel is, you just go rip all the windows out and put them in. There's much more of a process there in terms of the permitting, insurance requirement, the nature of the certification of the window. Because ultimately, my understanding is what happens in a catastrophic storm event, the window, ultimately implodes. Okay, if it's a non-sufficient window, not a storm rated, window based on the design pressure, it implodes. The air infusion comes into the home and effectively takes the roof off, and then you're done. Moisture, the home most of the time is a total loss at that point. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, if the roof doesn't come off, the mold starts, the mold turns into black mold. Either which way, whether it's water, mold, or the home just being leveled, one of the three are going to affect it if these homes aren't protected. I mean, that's, I think, where the challenges are at in consumer purchasing. Is, are people educated properly, or are the people running these businesses making boardroom decisions based on profits? Or at the end game, we're back to that word ethics. Supplying the product for the right way, or maybe even lowering your profit margins a little bit, still make it affordable for a homeowner. Either which way, it's not the easiest state to comply in. The amount of time to do a project, it's not a 2 to 3 week turnaround. Installation isn't a day turnaround. You can have stuff that goes 2 to 5 days just to complete a job, instead of a 3-day process, up to a month or two process just to get the proper permits. So we know that the homes are protected when the storms come in, so people can actually get the financial reimbursement when needed.
Sure.
I mean, impact is designed to stop people from dying, not from things breaking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's ultimately the end goal. I mean, obviously, hey, it's great. Protect the home, protect the valuables, but all that stuff can be replaced.
Yep.
Right. Okay. Well, very good, John. Look, it's been great speaking with you. It's been great hearing about that. Kind of about what's going on at Prestige, and I think it's been a good conversation. Continue to do what you do. Very proud of the organization you're a part of and how you're able to, or going to be able to take that great foundation and make it even better.
Just a few months away.
All right, buddy. Hey, stay in touch. Have a
All
great
right,
day.
man. Thank you, Tommy.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.